Imagine you're minding your own business, but there's a royal couple, a duke and a duchess, that have a terrible, terrible marriage. And all of a sudden you find yourself in a witch trial because a cleric has said that somebody has bewitched their marriage. What do you do in that situation? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about today, are the Finspang witch trials. If you're new here, my name is Brandy, and what I do is I talk about dark history, mostly witches and things like that, spooky stuff. And I kind of bring it back to life by telling the story. I do put some makeup on the same time I'm telling the story, but that's just to kind of give me something to do. But it's really about the story. So I'm so glad you're here with me. And if you haven't subscribed, please do, as I'm just trying to get to 500. So let's go ahead and get this party started because I really think that y'all are going to like this one. It is completely bonkers. Oh, there's that word already, huh? So today we are in Sweden, and there wasn't that many witch trials that happened in Sweden, okay? I think I've gone over one, and that's Malin, Mad's daughter, which is actually, she was the very last one to ever be put to death for witchcraft in Sweden. But during this time, which is 1617, they didn't even have any kind of torture devices or anything like that. It wasn't a big thing there yet, okay? That's what's really important to remember about this trial. This huge witch trial happens because these two people get married, this duke and this duchess, okay? And this cleric decides that their marriage is bewitched, okay? And so I had to do the deep dive on this because I got a little bit about the trial, but I was like, why is this cleric blaming? Why are these higher ups blaming these lower people for their marriage problems? I didn't know that until I did more research, and so that's why this story's so good. But anyway, let's progress on. It was actually a legend there for a while. They didn't even know if this trial really happened, but it did. They found out that it did, yeah. And it was just all because it wasn't public hysteria. Nobody was going around screaming, witch, 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 or nothing like that, no. It was literally because of this Duke and Duchess. So, who are these Duke and Duchess, and who was this cleric, you ask, before we get to the trial, obviously. So, we've got Princess Maria Elizabeth of Sweden, okay? And she was born March 10th of 1596, okay? And she was the cousin, yeah, she's gonna end up marrying her cousin. Like, her mom set it up that she would marry her cousin, this guy she grew up with. See, like, when she was born, her mom was a queen, and so queens, I guess they don't really raise their kids like that, and so she was really with her brother and this cousin named John all the time. Well, John was his dad was like a really, really high up guy, and so he knew that when he got of age, he would be this duke or whatnot. And so he gets of age, and our girl Maria, she is only 16 years old when she marries him. Okay, her mom has arranged this whole marriage. She's going to marry her cousin. Not like third or fourth, or not even saying any of that's right either. But I'm just saying, straight up cousins. But I mean, it's a different time. It's a different time. So she was engaged. She's very smart. She's very, very smart. Very smart, very educated, obviously, because she's rich. She could speak Latin and write it by the time she was like 10 years old. She had a lot of knowledge on literature and things like that. She's very, very smart woman. And she, like I say, gets in this arranged marriage, okay? Well, like, as family, they totally got along fine. It's just like a cool, chill situation. But when they got married, it turned into a bucket of crazy. The clergy at the time did not like this arrangement, no. But the queen says, this is not a church matter. This is a matter for the, kingdom or whatnot. And so they shut that down. So the church was like, because, like, this don't look very good. But the queen's like, I don't care. He's going to be a duke, and I want my daughter to marry him so that, she can be the duchess. The queen also didn't go to the clergy and ask for permission of marriage, which is something that they did. That was a pretty big deal back then, was, asking the church. And so I believe the church was a little bit angry that they didn't consult with them first. But, here we are. They get married on, let's see, it's November 29th, 1612. She was 16 when she married the Duke of Östergötland in the palace in Stockholm. Yeah. So she's married now. She's 16 years old and she's married. She's smart and, it's going to be a happy life, right? So let's talk about the marriage. Or lack thereof, actually. Because these two ended up just not liking each other, point blank, period, at all. They were incredibly unhappy together. Like, so unhappy. She blamed her mother. She was like enraged with her mom. She's like, I can't believe you made me do this. Why did I marry this guy? Like, I mean, she made a huge thing of it. And both of their health was deteriorating, okay, because of, I guess, their marriage was just so freaking turbulent. And her husband John, the Duke, he would have, he started getting depression really badly, and to where he didn't want to do things, he didn't want to see anybody, and things like that. And then the Duchess, she starts to get a little bit, she starts to get unwell as well, and so it has a negative effect. The health has a negative effect on their marriage, obviously. And so the summer of the next year of 1613, because that's around 1613 is when the Duke starts to get a lot of depression type stuff. And so then the summer of next year, Maria started having bouts of like insanity, like these crazy fits, and they would have to kind of lock her up and like keep guard over her, but not locking her up thinking that she's crazy, like locking her up and make sure she doesn't hurt herself or like take herself out of this world. And she would have these bouts, and then she would recover like periodically, and then she would have this insanity fit again, and then she would be fine, and then she would have this insanity fit again. And I mean, it got so bad that her own mother wrote and was like, I'm so sorry that I agreed to this. This is obviously killing you. I mean, what? And her brother sent his own royal physician to his sister to see what they could do to help her. So after all of these things happen, okay, they're having a really bad marriage. Mom is really upset that she's allowed this to happen, and she's watching her daughter deteriorate. We've got brother sending his own personal physician to his sister's aid to see what can he do, and there's nothing that they can do at this point. That's just the unfortunate thing about it, is that she just stays ill. And so what her and her husband do, they don't run the kingdom thing like together like they're supposed to. No, they don't. They run it very independently. But then she brings in her own personal reverend or a cleric or whatnot, a vicar type person, brings him in on the situation. It's like, what has happened to why are these things happening to us? They're not having kids, and they're not having any children either. Well, this man's name was Claudius Paretz, something like that, Paretz, and he was an active participant in the witch hunts that we're going to be talking about, because he's the one that tells Maria and John, witches have bewitched or put a curse on your marriage. That's what's happening here. Witches have cursed your marriage, and we have to find out where they are, who they are, and we have to get rid of them. This guy, Claudius, would spout out so much craziness, you guys. It's insane. He would just sit there and fill their heads full of stuff about witches, about how horrible they are, and all these other things. He put the idea into their head that their marriage was cursed because there were witches in the community. Now, because the Duke had pull, he's the Duke, you know, he decides to make a law because there weren't really any laws about witchcraft or anything back then. So he was just making up his own laws as this whole entire witch trial goes down. And the Duchess actually has some influence over these laws. So that's kind of one way where they roll together, but in another way, they're still really ruling apart because they don't like each other. So the vicar guy, Claudius, he's like, this woman right here, just a random woman, this woman put a curse on your marriage. And he literally put her at the stake and burned her. And then as she's being burned, she's like reaching out and trying to grab at Claudius's clothes, at the vicar's clothes, like trying to drag him into the fire with her. And so the executioner had to pull him back. And the royals believed that this was, okay, she tried to just kill the vicar along with herself. But yet, I mean, you're killing an innocent woman, but we all know that, but they don't, you know. They're seeing this as she is definitely a witch because she just tried to take a priest down with her type deal. That's how they see this, and so they progress with the hunt as this vicar is the leader, basically. Until that burning, there have been 0 witch trials or any kind of burnings or anything like that for witchcraft or sorcery or anything. None in Sweden up until that point. There was nothing like that going down. And so this kind of put everybody in freak out mode, as you would imagine, because they just burned an innocent woman, and now they're saying that that woman was a witch and that she bewitched Maria and John's marriage, and that's why their marriage is so terrible. No, they're not taking any responsibility of the fact that maybe they just don't get along because they're freaking cousins. I mean, it's like living with your family your entire life. You know what I mean? So the laws they had made it really hard to get the death penalty, okay? But not with old Duke in the house. He made it a lot easier because he just passed laws like it was nobody's business. He made it a lot easier for somebody accused of witchcraft to be put to death. He made it a whole lot easier, which is really, really sad. Because it goes on, we go on to see 7 women perish in this. And they are named, but I'm not going to go through their names because first off, there's a loud truck. Sorry about that. Second off, I will sit here for an hour trying to say their names, but I give them mega respect, and I feel so terrible about what happens to them for real. So you can imagine, since they ain't got no laws on witchcraft, they don't have no torture devices either. No, they don't. Sweden's not known for that. So they had to create some. Yeah, just for this trial, they made some torture devices. I am not sure which ones they did. I'm pretty sure it's the one they dunk them, that huge stick, and it's got, you hang the supposed person on the end, and you dip them in water and take them out, dip them in the cold rushing water of wherever they're at, you know. I think that's what they made. I'm pretty sure that's what they did, because that's how they were using torture to get confessions by 1616. And like I say, lowering them into turbulent waters, freezing waters, and things like that. When the torture was done, 7 women were accused. Okay, 7 women supposedly said that they were witches because they kept getting dumped in a river over and over and over. They all go to jail. Well, 2 of them die while they're in jail because it's such a horrible condition to live in. You know, they pass away while they're in jail, but one chick named Lucy was tortured and then confessed to going to Blockula. There's the word, Blockula. I mean, it's not far. I mean, so that's a good one, you know, to use if you want to stop being tortured. Stay Blockula, you know. Said she had relations with Satan, of course. And then she said that all the women that pointed the finger at her were there with her when she was having relations with Satan. Top that. So because of that, they had to delay their execution. So the execution ended up being delayed until 1620 because she ends up saying, and all those women that said I did this, they were there too. You know what I mean? So because we're down to 5, 2 others end up being mentioned, because I know y'all probably like, you said 7 people were going to die. Well, don't worry. When the 2 die in jail, they add 2 more. Not a problem. You know, Claudius is like, yeah, no problem. I can go get you some more witches. We'll put them in jail. Maybe the magic number was 7. You know? I mean, we just don't know. But anyway, that's what happened. And so they're all in jail. And 2 others were mentioned. And there's a quote. I have to read it to y'all off the paper because I can't remember anything. Quote, 2 evil and reputed sorceresses with their noble grace, Duke John and his noble consort, Her Highness Maria Elizabeth, condemned upon the order of God, burned on a village called Scubby Vod. I'm not sure how that gets involved in all this, but they're basically blaming, it's basically saying, hey, their marriage sucks because these 7 women put a curse on them. That's what they're saying. Yeah, I don't understand it either, so I feel ya. So after they got their 2 more, they were good to go. They were like, all right, let's go on ahead and execute them. Well, you would think they would just burn them at the stake like they did the first chick, like the vicar did the first chick. But no, he came up with a more clever way. I think this man was so sick and demented. I'm just saying, because what happens next is insane. So, you get these 7 women, they get a huge bonfire going at the bottom of this cliff, okay? And these 7 women have to go up the cliff and jump off the cliff into the bonfire burning below. Yes. Yeah. Like, what? That's bonkers. There's the word. I'm sorry. I know. I'm sorry. But to knowingly be climbing something, knowing that you're going to jump to your death into a burning fire below, that is so bad. Like, I'm telling you. And then this is because Sweden didn't have any other ways to torture or do anything like this to witches. And so they were just kind of coming up with stuff off the top of their head, I think. I don't know. Isn't that wild? So this is very, very unique because most people would just behead the person and then burn them. That was the normal way to go. So this is very, very a unique, obviously, way to do this. But oh my gosh. So now though, with the women that they figured out that this actually did happen to, they say that they haunt the woods at night, okay? That's around the cliff area, all right? They actually call that area Blockula Hill. I know, right? I mean, Blockula just gets better and better every single time I talk about it, I swear. It really does. It seems like, I really do want to go there, for real. I want to see that labyrinth. It's freaking awesome. But I'm off course here, so. Now, there's this little mountain lake, and it's called Sorceress Tarn. And there's a cave, supposedly, and that's where the witches would go to do all their spooky stuff. These 7 witches would go and do their spooky stuff against, you know, supposedly the Duke and the Duchess and all this other stuff. Now, they say that if you're in the woods over there by Blockula Hills, and you hear a woman saying, I'm innocent, okay? And you kind of mock her and start laughing at her or something like that, they're saying that you won't live to see the sunrise. And it actually happened to a farmhand. Yeah. So I wouldn't be messing around in Blockula Hills after 7 innocent women got tossed off of a cliff because somebody's marriage was in trouble. But you're probably asking, what happened to Maria and John? You know, when these women, when they were thrown off the thing, you know, did their marriage get better? Well, the weird thing is, both of them were dead before the executions even happened. Both of them had died in 1618. Loud truck, I'm sorry. Both of them had died in 1618, one within 5 months of the other. Yeah. So they weren't even alive anymore in 1620 to see if this would lift the curse or whatnot. If these 7 witches supposedly, if they threw them off this cliff, if it would cure the marriage. I guess we'll never know, because they both died in 1618. This story was, well, for one thing, the way they were executed, it was really, really hard for me to research and to read, because that kind of execution, any kind of execution, is awful. But because these royals thought that they were convinced by a vicar that witches were afoot, and that's why their marriage was so bad. Maybe they just weren't good together because they were cousins. I mean, that's just weird in itself. But I full on believe the place is haunted. Full on 100% believe it. If I could go there and throw bones, I totally would, just to see what they would say to me. So basically, the lesson today is, if something's wrong with your marriage, it ain't on anybody else but your marriage, okay? You can't be blaming other people for your own problems. And that's how this started. And to be a country where they never had witch trials, didn't even have laws for witches, I feel like that means that they had full belief system in their shamans, in their healers, in their potion makers, and their herbalists. And that's why they didn't have witch trials in Sweden, probably, until this cleric comes and probably hears through the vines of the church about witchcraft in other countries, and he brings it to Sweden, unfortunately, and uses a couple's weaknesses as a way to basically off 7 innocent women. Well, technically 9 if you count the other 2 that died in jail. I mean, that's what happened. They it's the saddest thing. And then not doing the merciful thing by beheading them before burning their body is absolutely insane to me. This story was crazy, and I'm glad I got to do it. I had to do a lot of research on it, but it was well worth it. But anyways, I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I hope that y'all have a wonderful weekend and all that fun stuff. And I will be seeing you guys here in a few days. All right. And if you haven't subscribed, please do, because I upload at least twice a week. So much love. And if nobody's told you today, I love you. Okay. So love yourself.